What's up, guys? Jake Webster with Savage Arts coming back at you with another one here. Today we're going to tackle how to tame a rock. Pretty wicked looking specimen right there. You don't have much length, you don't have much width. You got a really gnarly deficit right here. But there's a lot of platforms on here that are just screaming and jumping out to be taken. So hang tight. I'll show you how to tame this quickly and efficiently. All right, so here we go. We got a rock right here. This is some kind of Kentucky rock. Part of the Muldrow family or Buffalo River or something. I don't know what this is for sure, but it came from a fellow, Jim Collins from down there. This came from his farm. Shout out to Jim. Thanks for the rock, man. It's a pleasure getting to know you over the year. So with that being said, I'm gonna show you how to tame this down. You see how all these ridges are going? We're going to use those to our advantage. That's the first thing that we're looking at right there. So right now, the first thing that is screaming to be taken is this guy right here, followed by this guy right here. Those pencil marks are my strike marks, okay? So I'm going to start with this guy here. I'm going to remove this huge flake right here, okay? And then I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna knock this ridge off. This flake should do something like that. You can see, where is that? There it is. You can see the crater right in here. This flake should dive right through there and cut that in half right there. So you should wind up with this nice flake that we could use for like a Madison point. Right here, if I strike up just a little bit higher, instead of hitting the edge line, if I strike just a little bit higher, we'll get a deeper, longer flake. And that's how you're gonna be able to get those aggressive hits to thin it out quicker. So I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. Let's do some light abrading. This is natural platform, so it's already been ground by the wind and tumbled in the creek or whatever. So we're gonna go ahead and take this flake right here. I'm gonna post it up on my leg. You can see my pencil mark. Now when I'm posting this up on my leg, the reason I'm not hitting it out here, you can, but this gives you more leverage, more stability, more striking power. And a lot of times when you're out here and you're using your freehand to hit, watch what happens. You go to strike and automatically you're pulling back, just subtle. Now I'm exaggerating this a little bit, but you're pulling back, you might miss, or you might even pull in a little bit as you're going and get a higher hit than what you wanted. Another thing that knappers tend to do, they're going to strike, they got their angle, everything's right where they want it, right there. They're going, as soon as they're about to make contact, they do this. They drop their platform in their preform. So now you got a glancing blow, and it's not gonna take that big old cut of a flake. I put it on my leg, that diminishes all of those things because I'm posted up here. Notice that I'm grabbing underneath. This is our platform we're striking. This is our flake that's gonna detach. I'm grabbing that with my middle finger. Put my middle finger on the pad so there's hardly any contact. The preform is having minimal contact with the pad itself, but I will put that edge about right on the pad itself, just like that. So everything else is off. My middle finger is the pivot, and I'm bringing that edge to make almost contact with the pad. Another thing that beginners will do is they hit it just like that, or they'll weak wrist it. All you're doing by doing that is putting micro fractures in there. When you hit this, hit it with a purpose. All the way through, swing all the way in, and it should have a really good follow through. That follow through is what peels that flake off. So if you just hit it and stop, you're not gonna get that follow through. And your flake is, yeah, you'll probably get a little chip flying off, but you're creating micro fractures in the spall that's gonna create problems for you later on. So your swing comes from your wrist, man. Right there, that motion. You wanna have that whip. So if you're using an antler, you wanna have a whip. If you're using lead-filled boppers, you wanna have a whip. If you're using these solid leads, you wanna have a jab. So I'm jabbing at it, but when I do, I'm going all the way through. So I'm pushing it through my leg, not just stopping when I hit the rock. You see what I'm saying? Some people stop right when they hit the rock. Boom, boom. That's not good. You have to have that complete follow through. And the other thing is the weak wristed. You know, or you're overly stiff. So you're on the bopper, you're choked up on it, you're overly stiff, and you're robotic with it. That's not good. You have to have that free flowing in your wrist. So you load that pressure up, you're coming down, think of it like a whip, and you're bringing that down, and all of a sudden you stop, and you snap your wrist, and you get that whipping motion. So you gotta tame the rock that way. So if you're not doing that, you need to practice that. You gotta have that free, limbered motion so you can get that whip, that snap. These lead or solid boppers, you ain't gotta worry about that so much. I put my finger up top. That's aiming and support. So that helps me to know where my energy is going with that a lot of times. I hold it back, and I only hold it with 3 fingers. These are just supports. Just holding it with the 3, and you will get that whip motion still yet, just a little bit, but not as much with the lead fields. It's not necessary. These are super aggressive. You're hitting with the face of the bopper, not with the edge. And this applies solely for these solid coppers. You can apply that with your lead fields and your antler as well, but a lot of times with those, you are hitting with the edge, okay? With these solids, it's crucial that you hit with the face. You can even clip it on the back end. So you're swinging, clip it on the back end, and you're still getting your good flake. You just do not want to hit with the edges of it. If you do that, you're gonna get a flake that looks just like this. It's all cupped out. That's what your flakes will look like. So if you want a good transition of a flake, hit with that face. So let's go ahead and pop this flake now. That's what we got. That's what we were looking for. Just went right in there, knocked that ridge right off. Let's go ahead and pop this one. Look at that. It didn't cut as deep as my pencil mark. That's, I mean, that's you can't predict everything. But it did go pretty much how I said it would. Came right through there. Cut this divot right off. That's a huge thinning flake. That's a thick flake. You got to be aggressive with these smaller pieces like this right now. So I'm just going to be very opportunistic with my hits. I'm going to look for my platforms. I got a good ridge line right here, and I got a good platform right here. So I'm going to run this ridge, and I'm looking for something like this. I don't know if that pencil's showing up. I'm looking to take this flake right here and cut this ridge in half a little bit. Just like that. Cut the ridge in half. Maybe not perfectly in half, but we took some mass off of it. We ran that ridge right up there. Now I got a delta right here with a bulb of percussion right here and a bulb of percussion right here. This is a natural forming one. Maybe a Native American made that or something, I don't know. But you can see the flakes still there. The bulb right here and the bulb right there. And we got a ridge right here, but it's going into a deficit. This is a low spot. This right here is lower, and then it goes back up to high right here with this ridge. So what that's telling me, if I do a skimming flake on here, a really close hit to the edge, it's gonna dive right in this shallow spot, and it's gonna terminate in a nasty, gnarly hinge that we'll have to dig out. So we have to get above this low spot. So come over here to your edge. You're gonna be wanting to strike about right in there. So I can raise this platform up a little bit more, and beef it up, and that'll ensure that it cuts underneath this low spot and continues through the piece. I'll show you what that looks like. Another thing with these bulbs here, you see how we got this triangle going on right here? If you're gonna hit this, you need to relieve this right here and this right here. You need to isolate. You hear people talking about isolated platforms. This is it. You need to isolate that. And the way you can do that is just simply hit to the left and the right of it. Just like that. Now look, I got a really pronounced ridge right now. There's no triangle there whatsoever. So when I hit this, this flake isn't gonna wanna channel off to the left or the right with that triangle being there. It's gonna wanna channel right through all this mass because that's where the energy is carrying through the stone. But we're gonna go ahead and raise this platform up a little bit. The way I'm doing that is I'm just lightly raking on the edge. And that's beefing that edge up. Now that's a super beefy edge right there. And that pencil mark is my striking zone. Now when I strike, it's gonna be able to cut right underneath this low spot. It's gonna come on out here. So let's see, let's try to predict this flake. I predict this flake is gonna do something like this. It's gonna be a big flake. I think it's gonna do something like that. Come right in here, take out this ridge. It's not the best hit right now. There's other hits that we can take, but we can take this one, but it's not ideal, but I'm going to. And the reason it's not ideal is because there's other good hits to take right now to tame this a little bit better. Okay, so it cut right underneath that low spot, and then it wanted to go, but something killed the energy in there, and it jumped out. But that flake was going right on track with where, there's my pencil mark, it was going right on track with what I was trying to do. So when you're doing this stuff, try to predict your flakes. That'll help you get better at learning what's gonna happen, what's going on, why it's going on. So next thing we need to do is look at all of our ridges and all of our natural platforms. I got a smoking platform right here. Let's come in, clean up this little deficit right here that our last flake created. It's right here. It'll blend in really nice. I've got one right here that I can shoot up this way. I've got a really good one right here to follow this ridge right there. So now let's think about this. Which one are we gonna hit first? Well, if I hit this one first, then it can knock this ridge right here out, and then that's gonna diminish this flake. Versus if I take this flake and it'll create a deficit in there, I can just do a little short cleaning flake right here with this one. This one right here, I can get that on the back side because this is thicker and this will take more abuse at this point than this one will. So this is the ideal flake first. We'll go ahead and take this ridge, we'll pop this ridge, we'll flip it, and we'll take this ridge. That's what we got. Went right into that deficit, took it out. And we still got our ridge right here to take. So something like this, that's a little bit smaller of a platform. I don't want to give this one too much energy. I will come over here and I'll freehand this one. I'll orientate the preform with the direction I'm trying to swing to keep the energy in this motion instead of into somewhere I don't want it to go. Just a short dude, just to blend in. Knock that ridge off, blend it right in. Now let's take this back one. This is a good flake, so I'm gonna give this one the beans. Post up. I kept on missing on that. That's what we got. Went right up, followed that ridge, got a little bit of this mass here off too. We still got a platform right here. We'll go ahead and dress it up. Freehand this one here. Now what I was just doing, these residuals, I'm just chopping back what doesn't need to be there to create a continuous edge. This tip has got a hook to it, so we'll go ahead and pop that. I don't want to send a huge flake into this because this is high, this is low. It'll terminate in a hinge. So I have two options. I can either hit it with a short burst of a flake or a strike and have it terminate short, or I can orient it this way and really give a good strike and come out and split this deficit here a little bit more. This is the most practical hit right here, to orient it this way. This gives me bang for buck. Biggest flake with one strike. Okay, now you'll get those right there. That's all I got. And that could have been from a bad strike. It could have been not abraded good enough. It could have been from too low of a strike. But we're gonna go ahead and hit it again on this other platform, and that gave us more of what we were looking for. You see the hinge right here because it went down that deficit. It's not an issue right now because we got a lot of mass still. But if this was getting closer to a finished piece, that's what you need to pay attention to, those angles and stuff. It hinged just like I said it would. So we'll go ahead, we're gonna just kind of brush the edge line here, beef it back up so we can take another hit. While I'm doing this, I'm also shaping a rock. So I already have in my mind a teardrop shape that I'm going for. Gonna look something kind of like that. So this is all waste over here. I already know that. So I can braid that. I can use that to my advantage to get this crud off. Just taking opportunity hits on natural occurring platforms. And once they're gone, I'm creating more platforms right now by beefing that up. Now I got this thickness right here on the tip. A lot of thickness right here. So we're gonna go ahead and orientate our edge line. So we can take that. I'm raking up towards this platform, and then I'll rake back the other way. Go across it. You're good to go. Oops. You're good to go. So we'll go ahead and take this mass out right here. I'm gonna strike. Going towards this tip this way, not into the piece. Let's strike across where this tip is. Pop a relief flake right here. Now I just isolated. Taking some nice thick flakes with those. Now we got to where that thickness is mainly gone. There's no more deficit in here. We can send this flake here. Went right up to this thick spot over here. I don't like that hit. So we're gonna go ahead, we got the thick spots right here. Our edge line is facing the opposite wrong way. I'm gonna come back here, we're just gonna chop it and raise our edge line. I'm tilting the stone down a little bit, and I'm not taking flakes that are gonna go into the piece. I'm just chopping at it. Choking up on the billet, and I'm choking up on the preform. When I say that, I'm just holding everything tighter, getting closer to it. Now then, we have this edge is flipped, and now it's ready to take these flakes. So we'll go ahead and do that. This piece is now small enough and thin enough that I feel like I can handle most of these hits free-handed, so I'm going to. When you do this, hold the piece firmly, put it in the back of your palm, the back edge into your palm. That's gonna support it, just like so. Wrap your fingers around it, catch the flakes with your fingers. Back the back of your hand into your leg, like so. Shouldn't really be out here free floating. Back it to your leg when you're taking these thick flakes. What that's doing is giving added mass to this rock, because the rock is making contact with your palm. You're holding it tightly. Your hand that's holding the rock is making contact with your leg. Your leg is absorbing a lot of the excess energy. So it's not just how you're free floating to where the rock is absorbing 100% of all the energy you're putting into it. It also stabilizes your hand, so the rock has no choice but to break at that contact of the billet. Just like so. Just a really nice swing. Really good flake. That's a thick flake. It's a thinning flake. We're taming this down pretty quick. And right here where we took that, the bulb of percussion, I braid that. That ensures that if you miss any of these other swings and you hit that, that A, it won't go. B, if it does go, it's not gonna hinge on you so bad, and it will still potentially take a flake. So I got this ridge here, I got a platform there. I'm gonna angle my swing towards this ridge. See how beautiful that works, man? Because the trajectory of your swing dictates where that energy is gonna go. It's just blended super nice. We got a little hinge that we created right here, not an issue. We got a nice platform right there to pop that little dude off. We're gonna go ahead and take a series of short flakes right in here to clean this up. I'm not trying to send them into the piece too far. So I'll hold the preform flat as opposed to an angle. I'll hold it flat, and I'll just flake hit straight down. Maybe even towards me a little bit, towards me instead of into the stone. With a jab, I'll swing towards myself. And that ensures you get these little tiny flakes right there. They just stop, they don't go into the piece. Okay, look at that nice bevel we got there. Look at that. Every one of those flakes stopped right at this bevel. That's what you want. We're beefing that edge line up, so that on the next pass, we can send those flakes into this. That's a beautiful edge line. That's what you want to see. Now we got this guy here. I want to get rid of this ridge, but the platform, we got a double platform here. So we got a dude right here, and then we got our true platform. If you're feeling like you're really accurate, you can go ahead and pop that. If not, then go work somewhere else until you can zigzag this into a continuous platform again to diminish the risk of hitting this high. Because if you hit this high platform, chances are it's gonna break. But I think I can accurately hit that, so I'm gonna go ahead and take this ridge right here. And that's what it looks like. So you can see I didn't hit the top platform. I didn't hit up here. I was able to catch this one down here. And it just blended right in. That ridge is gone. We got a little crack or seam going on right there. We're gonna have to contend with that. But we'll worry about that when we get there. We're gonna continue going on. You see how thin it's getting already. Oops. Pause the video and go back, see what this started out as. You can see the difference already with just a few hits. So, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pop this relief here. It's a natural occurring platform with a ridge. We'll go ahead and take this ridge right there. Hinged on me, it's totally fine. Getting rid of all the loose stuff with the braider. I got a platform here with some mass in there. Kind of zigzagging at this point to make platforms. Most of my natural platforms are gone. So now we're gonna have to make some. We pretty much got it edged. I got one more platform right here I can take. And then there's just some ugliness right there. So all I'm doing is just chopping it down with the billet. Raising my platform. Raising my edge. Okay. Let's not forget where we're going with this. This is my point. Right there's my point. So let's further continue to shape and make platforms where we can. You see this is kind of obligated right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that to my advantage and chop off this ridge, and maybe we'll get through this crack or seam or whatever it is. Here's what we got. Here's our crack. It's more of a seam, but that was a good thinning flake. That reduced a lot of material. I'll go right next to it and I'll shoot another one in there from the base. I'm supporting the tip into the palm of my hand. That's the same thing as supporting it into your leg, like so. And that'll help with your end snaps. That was a high hit. That could have broke the piece, especially if it wasn't supported in my palm. I got a crater right in here. I want to start getting this blemish out of here. I want to make it to where you won't even see that. You won't even know that there was ever a deficit in there. So I'm just going to take a short series of blending flakes slash making a platform slash shaping. And then I'm going to abrade that all the way up to the top with my billet. Forcibly. Back here, braid this back side. Now we're set up to take a series of passes on the thick stuff. Leave this thin stuff alone. You can just take little short blending flakes like this on the thin area. On the thick areas, you want to send those flakes. Just thinning it out quick. Just did our pass. Now we're gonna flip our platform, edge line. Braid it. Take another series of pass. Avoid this thin spot right here. You don't want to send a flake into that. You'll dig it. You'll dig it in. So I'm just going to take a series of straight holding the preform straight, and my strike is straight down. That ensures that it doesn't go in very far. I will even tilt it down a little bit if I have to. Now I'm going to take this flake because there's thickness there. Now let's move on to this other side. We got this pretty well tamed. Gotta raise our edge line back up. See how everything's it's just on repeat. It's just the same thing over and over and over and over again. I'm gonna downgrade the size of my bopper. You don't have to, but this gives me a little bit more speed. And that speed translates to more energy being put into the stone to carry these flakes further. Okay, so this is longer right here. I need to remove this material here. So that tells me this is where I'm going to come in at to create a platform. I needed to go anyway. Braid the platform up to the surface. Braid it back down to create a lip. Braid across to seal the deal, and you're ready to start flaking again. Okay, now when I'm looking at this, this is all flat. Pretty flat. And I got a hump right here. This is kind of flat over here. This is my next area I'm going to attack because it's the thickest spot that my eye can see. It's gotta go. At this stage, you're more than capable of doing all this with pressure work. If you don't feel comfortable with the bopper, but the bopper is my bread and butter, and I know I can do a good number on this piece still yet with the bopper, so I'm going to continue with it. Those are high hits, that's why they're not detaching. I could have broke the piece, both those hits. So I'm gonna stop attacking that. I'll set that up with some pressure work if need be, but I'll move to the tip area and start working my way into there and see what happens. Better to miss than to hit high or get a skimming flake. But this is a good flake right here. Look at that material I just removed. Look at that. That's a lot of material. Thinned it right out. I'm gonna come right in the center of all this. The reason I'm missing so much all of a sudden is because I'm just trying to clip the very, very edge of that. I don't want a high hit. Get a high hit, your chances of breaking a piece are very good. I got a good ridge going in here. I got an okay platform over there. I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to take it. Took it good. There it was. That was my ridge. Looks good. The rest of this I need to set up with pressure if I'm going to continue to hit. Might be able to take this corner. Just a short swing. Short flake. Now then, we need to move to pressure. Pressure flaking is the same exact thing with the billet, just using a handheld device. So I'm going to flake straight down to create a platform or a continuous straight edge, a nice and crisp, none of this really fat wonky junk bull crap. I want this to be a crisp edge. Sometimes I refer to it as hitting a reset button because I'm resetting the edge for another series of either hits or pressure pass. All right. Take our braider, knock off all the junk, give it a back spin for that lip, seal the deal. There's no mass really to send a really good flake. Here and there are areas like back here, right up in here. I might take those when I get to them. It just depends, but other than that, I'm flaking straight down to start building convexity onto that side. Starting to want to hinge because it's making contact with the pad. So I'll move to my notch pad. I'll send this flake here because I got a good ridge. Went all the way over there. Send another one. Went right over there, next to the other one. This one here is too wavy, so I'm not gonna send that one. There's low spots, high spots. Just flaking straight down to even out the piece. I'll come back here, and I got some mass going on right in here with a nasty hinge that I'm gonna go ahead and try to rip out of there. Load up the pressure on this. Go in, push in a direction of that hinge. And voila, just like that, man. Flake went all the way up over here. Came right down here. Knocked that hinge off. That's what we're looking for. I'll take one next to it. With, you know, not right next to it. I just took this one. Now I'm gonna take this one. I'm gonna send it into the mass of the piece as opposed to just taking it randomly. Almost all of my flakes that I take are directionally oriented towards either the ridges or the mass. If you're not doing that, you're missing out on big opportunities. Hear that crush? There was a double crush. It's because it wasn't a braided, it wasn't ground. It went ta-ta. And you don't want those. That one actually went. Normally when that happens, they're gonna hinge up and crush or whatnot and just end up with a big, thick area. I'm starting to get dangerously thin with this piece using a notch pad, so I'm gonna downgrade to a sharper nail pressure flaker. If you don't have a secondary pressure flaker, just sharpen your other one up. This, what that does is it doesn't take such a big stout bite from the stone and reduces the amount of torque that you're putting on that stone. So it minimizes the risk of it breaking. This was our deficit right here. Right here. It's still there, but we're gonna work it out. Eventually you won't even see it. Just kind of send those flakes into there non-aggressively, not trying to send a thinning flake in there because it won't take yet. Not until there's not until that low spot is a high spot. So just work around it. Getting thin. I'm gonna use a braider to knock off all my deltas because it's quicker. Now when I do this, I'm losing width of my piece. So just keep that in mind. If you don't want to lose so much width, use your pressure flaker to knock those deltas off and then just grind it. Alright, now this is set up to take a series of passes on this face right here. I got both of my edge lines beefed up really good and facing the right direction. They're gonna wanna take flakes from here pretty good. I'm gonna start with my best side, which would be this side. And the reason I do that is because I can push more aggressively on this side. Versus if I start with my weak side, then I weaken this even more. And then when I have to really be pushing on it, this side might break. So start with your heavy side. Pop those flakes. After each flake, look underneath, see what happened. I go from my last fan out. So it's roughly about right in there. I go up from there and that's my spacing. If there's not an ideal flake right there and there's one better to the left or right, go ahead and take those. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just a guidance, a guide tool. Look at that, shot all the way over there. Now with this being so thin and delicate, I'm getting in a danger zone by having it in that notch. Danger zone meaning I can guillotine this piece really easy and it'll snap right in two. So I'll move it off to the side and have it free floating out here. Another thing that will help you from guillotining your piece is when you're pushing on here, don't be prying straight down like this. You gotta be pushing to the other edge. So I bring it in. Notice how my flaker is to the side of the piece, you know. I'm more like this, as opposed to being up here like this. You see the difference? When I push edge to edge, it's like, think of it like a chicken egg. If you're pushing on the fat side and fat side sideways, you can crush it with your fingers. If you put it skinny end and fat end, top and bottom in your fingers, and you try to push on it, the strength and integrity won't allow you to break the egg. Same thing with this. If I'm pushing edge to edge, that'd be like me pushing on the egg from top and bottom, fat side, skinny side. If I go on the top, that's like me having the egg fat side, sideways, and I can crush it. Not only does it strengthen your piece, but it also gives a better angle for your flakes to travel further. You see those hinges and stuff? We're not too worried about them because we can get them from this back side. Knock my deltas off. Whatever stays is good. So I'm not using an aggressive braider because I'm gonna use those deltas for another pass right now. You can see I got a thick spot right here with a nice ridge. This one here, I'll just have to pop straight down. This one here I can send. This one I have to pop straight down because I got this entire deficit of material here. Deficit material here. Skinny little ridge going up over here that's just gonna peter out. So there's no stone here to carry my energy into the center of the stone. It'll terminate in a hinge every time, guys. So pop that straight down. If there's not a really good ridge running through, don't take it. So I've only got 1, 2 good thinning flakes that I can take. I'll pop this down and I'll pop the rest of this down to create a better edge line and to reverse my platform for the opposite side. So I just took that good delta right there. The flake went all the way out here. Immediately, you can see it blended it in a lot smoother. Pop this one straight down. And it didn't travel. That's what we wanted. Now we got this one here that I'll send because it's got a really good ridge. It was right there. It went all the way over here. Cleaned it right up. I'm just gonna kind of pop these straight down. Get that tip off the pad. You can see how we clean that entire edge up. Yeah, we got a couple areas up here that are issues. We can go ahead and, you know, try to work on them. Just pop them straight down. Don't have to be aggressive. There's not much of a ridge for them to run. They're just kind of blending flakes. Boom, we got an edge. Now with this hinge here, we can try to pop it with our pressure flaker, which we were able to do just fine. Other than that, we could have got it from the back end, but we got it with the pressure flaker. So now we don't have to worry about it. We're gonna flip it over and we're gonna work on this surface here. Underneath, I'm looking for my highs and my lows. You can see all this is low, and up here at the tip is high. So these, I'm not gonna send too far into the piece. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to match these flakes right here. I don't want them to go much further than that. They're not gonna travel very far anyway because it's a low spot. With this high spot, these are gonna be thinning flakes. I'm gonna send those as far as they'll go. So I'm just kind of controlling how much I'm pushing and my angle. Those flakes are stopping exactly where we need them. Blending it right in. Work right up. Now, I worked it right up to give me a really good solid ridge line from here on up. And I can take this thickness right here off. So I'm gonna redress. And I'll pop these thinning flakes. Get that dust off there so I can see what I'm doing. Boom. Get your spacing. Boom. Spacing. This is some dangerous territory right here because that point is supported solely, and I'm pushing a lot of pressure on here on a thick platform. If you don't want to break that, you can mitigate it by coming back here and redressing it, but I'm just going to move back further up to my tip where I do have a good platform, and I'm going to work my way back down so that isolates this ridge over here from this backside. Another thing you do is just take it off the notch pad. When you do that, you run a risk of getting hinges, but closer to the tip, it's not that big of a deal. So I will do that sometimes. See this little hinge right here? That's what I'm talking about. You'll get these little hinges right here. They're just minor nuisances. They're not, you know, huge hinges, but it's just enough to ruin the face in your eyes, you know. Somebody else may not care about it, but as a napper, we're going for perfection, and it bothers us because we want a good clean point. This face is done. This face is pretty much done. At this point, we could go ahead and start notching if we wanted to, or we can keep on working on getting our edge line. I'm gonna keep on working on getting my edge line. I'm not sending any flakes, so I'm not gonna use a notch pad. Just flaking straight down. Building convexity. Not really trying to get a very far flake. Now with that being said, I'm up into this territory where I see a really good ridge here and I can take a good flake, so I'm going to use the notch pad. Boom, I went all the way over there. If we didn't use the notch pad, then it probably would have stopped short in a hinge. That's not good. We just created a really, we created a shelf in here. We've got a thick spot right here, created this shelf. At this point, there's no way to dig that out from this side. No way. If I take this flake and try to, I'm only gonna compound the issue and make it worse. So I'm gonna take a light flake to try to stop it right at or before that, but it'll be a thin flake, so it won't dig it in real deep. If I try to take a really aggressive flake, then it would turn into a shelf to where your fingernail would catch on it, making it more noticeable and gnarly. What we can do is attack this area of the shelf from this side, but in order to do that, we're gonna have to really beef this up. Flake straight down on this side to create a higher platform to take a longer flake. Just flaking it straight down. Grabbing up kind of high on the edge, not right at the edge, but rather higher this time because I'm trying to be more aggressive to raise that edge line. Still looking really good. That actually made it look even better. This is the depression that we've been chasing this entire stone. And with this pass right here, that depression will disappear. This depression is about to become even with everything else. It will actually probably even look like a percussion flake in there. This is dangerous waters here because the edge line is neutral. It's not above or below the center line. It's neutral. So if I'm really twerking on that, there's a good chance it could break. Guillotine. So I'm gonna take the pad away, notch pad. That will alleviate a lot of things that could go wrong here. The only thing downside to that is you'll get these hinges again. Let's see if I can't braid that back some and force it to be below. Yeah, that might be looking a little bit better there. I don't know, it's still pretty thick. If all else fails, you can send another series of pressure passes right there, which is probably the smart thing to do. But I'm too impatient for that. I'm just gonna go ahead and give her hell. The flake went all the way over here. And do it again. Flake went all the way over here. There's our depression. And now all of a sudden that depression isn't looking like a depression. It's blending in. I'm right at the depression there. I'm gonna pop some light flakes. Now I got this thickness right here, but I feel more comfortable coming from the tip and working into that. So that's what I'm gonna do. Come over here to the tip. Start popping my thinning flakes. They're going good. Everything's lining up. Took that big thick flake right there. Now I got one shot right here to shoot it over here and get rid of whatever shelf is left. So I had a triangle right there on that delta. I just popped to the left and the right of the delta. Now I got a really good strong straight shot into this. I'm gonna go ahead and beef it up. I don't want that to crush. I don't want it to fail because it crushed on me. I want it to fail because I failed. With either my angle or just whatever. So we got that one shot right here. We're gonna go ahead and pop it. I'm gonna go with a steep angle. And I'm not gonna say it was a failure because it did wrap it off. We just have this little tiny shelf right there. But it's not even noticeable. So it shot that shelf off. We did create a little bit more of a depression here so we can even that up as we go. And I'm just gonna do some blending flakes here. Not really sending them into the piece, just straight down just to blend the edge. Blending it with this flake that I took over here that caused some massive hemorrhage to this piece. Popping my deltas. There's a finished edge there. Now you can keep on going back and forth until this is a drill point, guys. At some point you gotta say, okay, that's where my thickness is. I'm stopping. Now I'm gonna raise my edge to put it in the center and start doing my notches, which is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna raise my edge to the center. I'm gonna sharpen up my tool. So I got a burr on there. Get that burr off. Knock off all this residual stuff with the braider. I'm raising that platform up to my high side. We just took flakes from this face here. So I was just flaking this way. Took these flakes off. My edge line is closer to this opposite side now, which is perfect for getting our edge realigned. So now, instead of sending a whole bunch of flakes in there, I want these flakes to go, because I'm creating my edge line, I want these flakes to go about right in here. Now, if I got a good ridge in there, like I see a good ridge right here, I'll pop that flake. But other than that, I'm gonna flake straight down, and I want those flakes to terminate about where that pencil mark is. What that's gonna do is help give you a nice looking lenticular convexity based point. So we'll look at, see what's going on. You see they're going right to the pencil mark. Just light flakes, small bites, sharp tool, straight down. If there's a good ridge like that one was, it's gonna wanna travel. So you really don't have to push on it too much and go at a steeper angle. It wants to follow that ridge. That's where the energy is gonna go. You don't have to work it so hard. You can see our pencil mark on one side versus the other. Most of this pencil mark is gone. We're gonna do the same over here. I want it to go right up to that pencil. goes over a little bit, perfectly fine, but that's my guide. Platforms are crushing on me, so I just re-abraded it, and we're starting to get that pencil mark is getting gone. It doesn't have to get gone. That doesn't mean that I'm doing a good or bad. I want it to go right up to or a little bit past. Get a pencil in your toolkit, guys. It's gonna really greatly help you out. Draw on your pieces. You know, if you already know what you're doing, then you know, it's not as necessary. But if you're just starting out, get you a pencil. Start putting these marks on there. Start trying to guess where the flakes are gonna detach at, instead of just hitting wildly. And you know, you can do that because it is a lot of fun, but it gets costly. And if you're just starting out, chances are you're not really sewing your pieces yet. So that's coming straight out of your pocket. But if you could start penciling in where you think that flake's gonna go, then it's gonna slow you down. It's gonna make you think. It's like a puzzle. And you're just trying to figure out how to remove the pieces that don't belong. Okay. Now we got a really nice preform here. Nice teardrop preform. What do we do now? Well, it's notching time. You can make a corner notch. You can make a an Adina. Just make a killer Adina. You know, that's why I like to have my pencil too. Gives you a rough estimate of what you might be looking at. That's if we went with an Adina. That looks pretty darn cool. I could do a Decatur fracture since I've been on a kick of them. And it's kind of hard to see that one, but it would look something like that. That looks cool too, but we're gonna do an Adina. I think that looks really good. I haven't done one in a while. We're gonna make this into an Adina. So you already know you can clip all this off. Just crunching it back with my tool. Being pretty aggressive with it at this point. Get our braider out. Now we're gonna pop some flakes that are gonna, not necessarily thin, but we wanna be a little bit more aggressive with these flakes just to take advantage of thinning it out. I'm not really sending them into the piece, but you know, like that one went right there, and it went up here. I'm flaking not straight down, but not into the piece, so split the difference. There we go. So it looks like a pretty cool little fanned motion of flakes. Now we'll go ahead and clean up all these deltas, and we're gonna shape while we do that. We just thin that out enough that we can just kind of crunch it. Stop picking on my base a little bit there because it will get too thin, too narrow before you know it. Happens quick. Dinas they look easy to make, but they're hard to make right. Leave my base alone, come back here. Now we're gonna braid. Just shooting these pretty much straight down again. Not trying to send out a super aggressive thinning flake. Now I will here, because I got a good opportunity to get some thickness here going. So we're gonna get our pad. I'll send this flake here into the piece. Boom, it went all the way up in there. Reason I did that was because there was excess thickness there, and I knew I could get away with thinning that out. Notice I'm being pretty delicate back here on the base. And send this flake here. Boom. Crunch it back, start shaping again. Let's draw back on there what we want. I want this to go like that. I want to go there. And it's gonna go here. Go down from there. Something like that. Round that corner. If the bases weren't too sharp. Oh yeah, she's translucent. Symmetry's off a bit. I'm gonna combat that. Instead of working on my base to fix it, I'm gonna fix it by working on my blade. Flaking straight down, grabbing up high on the edge. When I'm talking about edge, grabbing up high. Okay, so this would be a low grab right here. This would be when you're about to shoot a flake out. It's right on the very edge versus what I'm doing right now. I'm not down here, I'm up high on the platform. So I'm grabbing the top of the platform and I'm pulling it straight down. And what that's doing is giving a steeper bevel and it's thickening my edge line right there while it's sharpening it. All those little micro serrations. I'm gonna do the same to this other side. It's not as aggressive. Grabbing on top of the platform, pushing straight down. I don't have to look underneath to see what I'm doing. You can if you want, but I already know that these flakes aren't traveling. I know what the bottom of it, the face looks like, and I know it's not gonna ruin it. Get rid of that pencil mark. And there you got a wonderful Adina from some Kentucky rock. This took me over an hour to make. Obviously, it doesn't take that long. If I didn't have to explain my actions and what I was doing, you know, you could have this whipped out in 20-30 minutes. And just a braid the base around the ears. Symmetry might be off just a tad. I'm not gonna worry about it. You guys have seen what was going on in this entire video. This is for demonstration purposes only. Sweet. Well guys, I hope that helped. If it did, I want you to like this video. I want you to comment if it helped you. Subscribe to my page if you want. I'll be putting out more content like this in weeks and months to come. If there's something you want to see better, closer, or all around a different technique of something, you gotta let me know. Let me know in the comments and I'll try to bring it to you guys in YouTube fashion or in TikTok videos or whatever. You guys have been asking for a long time. I've been putting it off. Well, here's your chance. So if there's something you want to see, now's the time to ask. I don't know if I'll keep on doing this, but we'll just see how it goes from here. So God bless you all and have a wonderful day.